After installing and activating the software on your computer, it's now ready for you to create your database. So if you double click your icon and click on the demo data button and then double click on the Army demo data database, log on with user 01 and the passcode of 123456. Once we're logged in, we need to go to Maintenance and Create New Database. So in here we need to fill in our details. So we put our database name at the top. So this is generally the same as your unit name. So you can copy and paste that in there. Enter your address and postcode, telephone number, email, etc. The charity number, if your unit has got just one charity number overall, you can enter that in there. If not, leave that blank. You can always enter a charity number against each individual fund as well. So moving over to earliest year start date. If you're converting at the start of a new financial year, then this would be the first month of the previous year to allow you to enter your prior year balance sheet balances. So in this example, my financial years run from the 1st of May. Therefore, I'm going to enter my opening balances using a date of the 30th of April, which is the last day of my previous year. So the earliest year start date would be the first month of the previous year, which is May 2025. And then the earliest open month. So this is going to be the month that I'm going to use for the opening balances date. So the date will be the 30th of April, which is the last date of my previous year. So therefore the earliest open month is going to be April. So you can also choose whether the unit will use debtors, creditors or shop and bar trading. So if you don't use these, you can just untick that. You can always change it at a later date in system maintenance anyway if you need to. If you are VAT registered, then make this selection and it will ask you for your VAT details. So once you've input everything, click on Create. Sure we want to create it, yes. And yes, I don't want to enter a charity number. So it's now saying it's created successfully, and we can now log out of the demo data and log into our live data. So there's our database there, and we just double click it. And the default is user 01 and 123456. And we're now logged into the live data. Now we need to add the fund codes in. So if we go to maintenance and fund maintenance. So I'm going to start with all the unrestricted funds first. So these were what would have been the separate databases in version 7. For example, the Officers Mess, PRI, etc. So all these unrestricted funds would be added as parent funds, and the restricted and designated funds that belong to each parent fund would be sub-funds. So let's start with entering in the Officers Mess. So we just click on Add. In the fund code here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to number the funds. This is because the fund code selection boxes in the software are listed in alphabetical order. So if I number them, then they'll appear at the top of the list, which makes them easier to select. So if I put in the details. So although this is an unrestricted fund, we're going to mark it as designated. And you can put a default money account. So if it just uses the one bank account, you can select it there. It's just a default, so you can change it at transaction level if you wanted to. The retained surplus code is always going to be B900. And because this one is a parent fund, we're going to leave the sub-fund flag as no. And we just click on record. I'm going to add the next one in. So I've now added 3 parent funds. So now I'm going to enter the sub-funds. So these are the restricted funds that belong to those parent funds. So let's add in a fund for the officer's mess. So I'm going to prefix it with OM for officer's mess. And this will be restricted. So because this is a sub-fund, I'm going to say yes. And now I need to assign it to, so attach it to a fund. So because this is the officer's, it's the officer's mess. And record. Add another one. Again, this is another sub-fund. And record. And if we add one more, so this time this is going to belong to the PRI. So this time the parent fund is going to be the PRI. And record. So you just continue to do that till all your funds have been added. Now we can move on to adding the debtors. So if you do have debtors that you wish to add, you can use the import debtors, or you can manually add them into debtors and debtor maintenance. If we go back and have a look at our import debtors. So what you'll need to do is from version 7 is extract out a list of all your debtors, and then you can remove all the ones you don't want to import from the file, and then we can import them here. So in the import file, click on the button with the dots. Browse your computer till you find the file you want to import. So they must be imported one fund at a time. So I'm going to do the officer's mess first. So this gives you a preview of the file, just for information so you can make sure it's the right one. If you click on core fields, so it's already mapped from the majority of the fields from the file. What you do need to do is in the address, you need to select mailing address to map that field. In the fund code at the top, so we want to select which fund all these debtors belong to. So in this case it's the officer's mess. So it's automatically put a fund prefix in. So it will prefix all the member numbers with 10 for one officers in this case. So once we've mapped everything, all you do is click on import. Say yes, you want to import them. And it will tell you how many members you've imported. Just check the import report here. If there's any problems, anything's been skipped, then it will give you the details here. So you would just follow that same procedure for all your different funds. So if I select the PRI this time, again, it gives me a preview. Click on Core Fields, Fund Code, PRI, put the prefix in for me, select my mailing address and import. And that's that done. If you have any creditors that you want to set up in the system, if you go to Creditors and Creditor Maintenance, you'll need to click on Add and enter the details. And then just record. So you just add however many creditors that you need in the data. Now we can move on to looking at users. So if we go to Maintenance and User Maintenance, so the data is created with one user code already, the user 01. So you'll need to add any additional users you need. So you just click on Add down the bottom, give it a user code, put in user 02 this time, and put in the name and enter the passcode and repeat that confirmation. And then fill in any other information you need. So if this is an admin user, then say yes there. It gives them access to the admin side of things. If you want to give them an expiry date or a date to renew the password, you can fill those fields in here. So you just click on Record and then just repeat that for all users you want to enter in. Then it's also advisable, once you've done that, is go back to user 01, which is a default user, and either delete it or you can update the password so it's not 123456. So now everything's been added and set up in the database, we can enter the opening balances. So if we go to Maintenance and Opening Balances, so because we are entering them at the start of a new financial year, so therefore my opening balance date is going to be the last day of the previous year. So in this example, it's going to be the end of April. So we're going to enter a reference. Now you need to enter an opening balance for each fund. So for the Officers Mess, we're going to enter an opening balance for the Officers Mess Unrestricted Parent Fund. And then we're going to enter an opening balance for the restricted funds within the Officers Mess. So we start off with the general Officers Mess. So we'll select that one. So this is the parent fund. So now we enter our balances. So for example, we could have some money under investments and some money in the bank. Once you've entered all those balances, the other side of the transaction, the credit side, is always going to be retained surplus. So this will be the balancing entry. So you should end up with a balance of 0 at the top here. Because we're entering these at the beginning of a financial year, you won't have any balances against any of your G codes. If you do have a balance against a debtor or a creditor account, you'll notice that the control accounts aren't displayed here. So what you'll see if you scroll down is at the end of all your account codes, you will see your purchase, your creditor and your debtor accounts here. So if you've got a debtor balance, you would enter the balance against each individual debtor. And again, always make sure you've got a balance of 0 at the top there, and confirm and record. And then you'll repeat the process. Now let's enter opening balance against the restricted funds for the Officers Mess. So we're going to do it against the Officers Mess Entertainment Fund. Same opening balance. So again, in our bank account, I'm going to say we have an amount of money that belongs to that restricted fund. The other side is the retained surplus. So enter that in, confirm and record that one. So we'll enter another one. So we'll select our other restricted fund. And again, in the bank, I'm going to say we have an amount of money that belongs to that restricted fund. Confirm and record that one. So now if we had a look at the bank account, you can see our 3 entries there. So there's the amount that belongs to the main Officers Mess Unrestricted Fund, and then we've got the amounts that belong to the Tea and Toast and Entertainments Fund. So the overall balance is everything added together, but you can see the individual transactions, and if you just want to see the balance of the Entertainments Fund, for example, so select that one. So there's our transactions, and there's just the balance of that restricted fund. So you would continue to do that and enter opening balances for all of your funds, and then once you've entered everything, the balance of your bank account should be the overall balance of what's actually in your bank account.